Welcome to Quest Field and a beautiful day out of Seattle, Washington. A reminder, tonight's game features rosters and sliders that are still a work in progress. Coming onto the field are the all-time Seattle Seahawks. These are the greatest 53 players in Seahawk history and the greatest 53 players in Vikings history, plus a couple of additional guys that are fighting for the fringe spots onto these two rosters. So the preseason brings a new element for the all-time Seahawks and the all-time Vikings as the preseason position battles are underway. No position battle for starting quarterback from Minnesota, a.k.a. the Scrambler, Fran Tarkenton of the Vikings. Five-time Pro Bowler out of Georgia takes the field from Minnesota's starting offense tonight. The starters for both clubs will play the first half, and then the backups fighting for roster spots and depth chart positioning will play the second half. First play of the all-time Vikings and the all-time Seahawks is a pass to Steve Jordan, and the tight end gains 7. Richard Sherman makes the stop. Let's check out the all-time Vikings offense with Adrian Peterson in as running back. Steve Jordan's the tight end with Justin Jefferson and Randy Moss out wide. An outstanding receiving corps, maybe the most talented receiving corps for an all-time team in the National Football League, with Justin Jefferson, Randy Moss, and Chris Carter as the leading three. Inside run to Peterson. Richard Sherman involved defensively yet again, and he is certainly one to watch for the all-time Seahawk defense to join Bobby Wagner, Kenny Easley, Cortez Kennedy, and Earl Thomas. Seattle in nearly a half dozen seasons have had the greatest defense in the National Football League and were nicknamed the Legion of Boom in their one Super Bowl win of 2013. A play fake to Peterson, and Tarkenton finds him. First down to the 36-yard line, a gain of 9. Adrian Peterson is 5th all-time in rushing yards in NFL history. We know who's at the very top, Emmitt Smith, but Adrian Peterson is right behind him. An outstanding career, even with the injuries limiting the tail end of his run in Minnesota. Peterson's in the block. Tarkenton throws a jump ball, and it's intercepted by Bobby Wagner. He's taken down at the 38-yard line, and that is where the 9-time Pro Bowler and one of the most steady quarterbacks in NFL history, Russell Wilson, takes the field for Seattle. And he has a very good receiving corps alongside him, headlined, of course, by Steve Largent. Wilson, he's taken a shot towards Largent in the end zone, and that is incomplete. Let's check out the all-time Seattle offense. Steve Largent is, of course, the player to watch. Denell Williams and Sean Alexander in the backfield. Brian Blades is the other receiver, and very well known for his time with the Saints, but also a very good Seahawk tight end in the mid-2010s, Jimmy Graham. Could be a safety valve for Russell Wilson tonight. 2 minutes into the game 2 of the preseason, the Seahawks and the Vikings all time. Wilson completes the Largent, but not a touchdown, instead a short throw. That is a gain of 4. Steve Largent ranks 19th all-time in receiving yards for a career with 100 touchdown catches. At the time, it was the most in NFL history. And for all the great receivers, of course, Largent's the number 1 guy for Seattle. He joins Blades and Metcalf out wide. Wilson throws to Alexander on a Texas route, and he converts the third down. It's a gain of 6. A brilliant throw from Russell Wilson, and there is an example of what made him one of the most efficient passers in the National Football League. His outstanding pocket awareness. He is also, of course, a great scrambler. These are two of the better scrambling quarterbacks in NFL history, Russell Wilson and Fran Tarkenton. In fact, here we go. This is Wilson. Allen wraps him up on a gain of 7. Even the purple people eaters of the all-time Vikings defense, they're going to have their hands full against Russell Wilson tonight. Nick Rice in hand, all-time Vikings, all-time Seahawks. Russell Wilson and Fran Tarkenton, there is that side battle. Who's going to have more rushing yards in this one? Both slated to be the starting quarterback when the regular season begins of the all-time rosters franchise. Inside run to Sean Alexander. No debate about whether he should be a starter. Gain of 8 and a first down for the former running back out of Alabama. A 3-time Pro Bowler, and at the time had one of the greatest individual seasons by a running back in NFL history in 2005, helping guide Seattle to the Super Bowl, one of 3 Super Bowl trips, all since the turn into the 21st century for this historic franchise. Alexander is buried at the line of scrimmage. Let's check out the all-time Vikings defense. There's playmakers everywhere. Alan Page, John Randall, Jared Allen, and Carl Eller. Joined the nose guard Kevin Williams, a run-stuffing defensive tackle out of Oklahoma State. Late in the opening quarter, off of the Bobby Wagner interception, the Seahawks are in the red zone on their first drive. Vikings threaten blitz. Inside run to Alexander, and he is decked. Chad Greenway makes the stop inside on a gain of about a yard. There's a look at the all-time Seahawks coach, Pete Carroll, helping guide Seattle to 2 of their 3 Super Bowl trips. Of course, we're going to go all in 2013. They made it back a year later and suffered one of the most heartbreaking losses for a franchise of all time. They have yet to get back to the Super Bowl since then, and really, a lot of them are still talking about it. Wilson fires this one out of the end zone. That is incomplete. Number 86, Brian Blades, was the intended target. I mean, still, all these years later, the talk of the Seattle Seahawks was their inability to win it all, and of course, that play call from Pete Carroll at the 1-yard line. The field goal from Hauschka is good, and with 2:44 left in the first, Seattle leads it 3-0. And Hauschka will send away the kickoff. This one sails deep downfield, end over end, returnable for Bobby Bryant. And he is down the ball for a touchback. The all-time Vikings ranked 7th in the National Football League, winners of 54.8% of their games. They are one of the most successful franchises in NFL history. Peterson was a big proponent of their success in the 21st century. So far in the greatest rosters franchise preseason, there was a quick look at the NFC North standings. The Vikings also have 21 playoff wins, a very successful franchise with Bud Grant being the head coach. Peterson on the toss is buried for a loss. That's Michael Sinclair, number 70. Adrian Peterson rarely is dropped on first contact, but there he had no chance. The entire Seattle defense swarms Adrian Peterson. As mentioned, 5th on the all-time rushing list in NFL history for a career. 7-time Pro Bowler out of Oklahoma. Also a very talented receiving back. He is out on a route, but Tarkenton, before he could get rid of it, is dumped by Cortez Kennedy. Kennedy, the defensive pressure, and the Vikings go 3 and out. The offense has gone scoreless through 2 drives. Cortez Kennedy in the 1990s was brilliant. In 92, earned Defensive Player of the Year awards with his 14-sack campaign for Seattle. Tyler Lockett, the outstanding return man at Kansas State, spilled to the 44-yard line. 3-0. Wilson and the Seahawks settled for 3 on their last trip into Viking territory. They begin this one in Minnesota territory at the 44-yard line. Here's Wilson on a 4-man rush. Screen to Alexander. No chance. Buried for a 2-yard loss by Antoine Winfield. Those numbers certainly not spectacular through a quarter for Russell Wilson. 3 of 5 with 8 yards. It's 2nd down and 12 yards to go for the Seahawks with a half a minute to play in the quarter. Steve Largent and Brian Blades are the 2 receivers on this one. They'll go run inside with Alexander, who cuts it back to the 45. Alan Page makes the stop. He is one of the only players in NFL history, and it's safe to say he'll stay that way, who earned an MVP award. Incredible season for Alan Page early in the 1970s. We've played a quarter. The Seahawks are up a field goal here at home against the all-time Minnesota Vikings. 3-0 at the end of one. Welcome back. Nick Rice in hand on a beautiful 78-degree night from Quest Field in Seattle, Washington. Through 8 minutes, not much offense to speak of. Wilson on 3rd and 10. He's looking deep, and he's going for it all. Jump ball to Largent, and it is off the deflection, caught by Largent for a touchdown. What a play from Wilson to Largent. Into the all-time rosters franchise, we may see a whole lot more of that as Largent reels in his second pass of the game for the Seattle touchdown. The extra point from Hauschka is good. The all-time Seahawks are on him early. Steve Largent, 7-time Pro Bowler out of Tulsa with an outstanding catch. Let's check out that play again. Just an incredible grab in front of Browner for the score. And now they'll bring out the kickoff team, and Hauschka will send this one away. Reeled in by Percy Harvin, an incredible return man. He races to the 22-yard line, and the former Florida Gator sets up the Vikings with decent field position to begin their next drive. First down from their own 22. Glad you're with us, all-time Vikings, all-time Seahawks. Rosters and sliders still a work in progress. Inside run, Peterson with a hole. Gains 9 on the draw, his best run of the day. Begins this Minnesota drive, their third of the first half. Richard Sherman with his third tackle. And this against a terrific defense. In the all-time rosters franchise, the Seattle Seahawks and Minnesota Vikings should finish top 10 each in defense. That's just how good they are on that side of the ball. Inside run to Peterson, who gets into the secondary. A 7-yard scamper for Adrian Peterson, taken down by Sherman and Thomas at the 38-yard line. Adrian Peterson will be tough to cover against anybody this season. And Seattle's having a tough time containing the future Hall of Famer. 4 receivers in on first down from the 38-yard line. Draw to Peterson. No chance this time. Kenny Easley was there for Seattle on a gain of 2. The all-time Vikings have made it to the Super Bowl 4 times in their incredible history. 4 times in 63 seasons, but have lost every time. Most spectacularly in 1976 to one of the greatest teams ever in the Oakland Raiders. Tarkenton was just out of the league at that time. Tarkenton throws to Jefferson, and he's got the first down on a gain of 16. Tarkenton on the tail end of his career, I misspoke, in 76, with a brilliant throw to Justin Jefferson. It would have been certainly nice for him in the 70s to have a guy like that out wide. While they were great at other positions, receiver, they were a bit devoid of all-time talent in the 1970s, but Tarkenton certainly enjoying the presence of one of the greats of the 21st century. Off the play fake, Dalvin Cook dropped the football but wouldn't have done much anyways. The pass is incomplete. Minnesota, we know how good they are at receiver, but their running back room is loaded too, with Dalvin Cook as the backup. Robert Smith and Chuck Foreman round out the running back room for Minnesota, and Bill Brown is their slated starter for game 1 of the regular season at the fullback position, but of course the preseason will determine the final 53. Tarkenton slides right, finds Steve Jordan, the top tight end, and he's stacked up to the 41-yard line. Marcus Trufant with the tackle, as Tarkenton has made amends of the early Bobby Wagner interception. With a steady first half from Minnesota, they trail on the road by 10. Nick Rice in hand, it's third down with 7 yards to go. 5 minutes left in game 2 of the first half of this preseason battle. Tarkenton out of the gun with time, looks left and finds Carter for the first down. That is a gain of 8 to Anthony Carter, three-time Pro Bowler out of Michigan with the first down. Anthony Carter wreaked havoc on the San Francisco 49ers, the 87 playoff upset over San Fran on the road. They were one of the best teams of all time that year, but Anthony Carter happened in the divisional round. First down, Tarkenton on a deep drop. Under duress, he's dumped. Yet again, Cortez Kennedy was there, joined by Julian Peterson, for a loss of 7. While Minnesota's done a good job up front running the ball with Peterson, Tarkenton has felt the pressure just about the entire first half. Second down and 17 after that sack. Ball spotted at the 39-yard line. A false start of the offense.
False start, offense. Repeat, second down.
Steve Hutchinson, Hall of Fame guard, is the guilty party for Minnesota. And this offense is going backwards late in the first half. Tarkenton out of the gun, rolls to his right. He's going to run, slides to his left. Tarkenton to the 32. A gain of 12, and that's what made him so good. Nicknamed the Scrambler for his incredible running ability, Fran Tarkenton. We talk about Michael Vick, guys like Lamar Jackson, and so many great scrambling quarterbacks, but this was the guy that was the mold setter from way back in the 60s and 70s. Fran Tarkenton, an outstanding scrambler, pretty darn good passer too. With a 4-man rush, he throws to Harvin on a check down. He doesn't do much. That is a 3-yard gain for the product out of Florida. 6 of 8 start to the game. Tarkenton completes 3 passes in a row on this potential scoring drive, but they'll settle for the field goal. Ryan Longwell, the product out of Cal. From 47, Culpepper puts it down, and the kick is good. Right down Broadway, Longwell hits, and the Vikings are on the board. 2:39 left in a tightly knit first half. Our score is 10-3. Longwell will send this one deep. An end-over-end kickoff. It wobbles about 2 yards in for Darrell Jackson, a member of the initial Super Bowl club of 2005. Winfield the tackle on a return of 24. 2:35 left in the first half. Russell Wilson of the Seahawks have a chance to execute a 2-minute drill on 1st and 10. Inside run, and Alexander didn't have a chance. Buried by Hall of Fame safety Paul Krause for a 3-yard loss. He was the other primetime Hall of Fame member of the Purple People Eaters to join Tarkenton in the 1960s and 70s. A lot of those guys from those Super Bowl runs are a member of this team right here, the all-time Minnesota Vikings. 2nd and 13. Wilson in front of the 2-minute warning. Fires over the middle to Jimmy Graham. He's got it for a gain of 12. We have an injury on the field, and with that, we step aside. That was one of the starting linebackers, Bill Seaman, who sustained an injury there. 3rd down and a yard after that one. Wilson throws to an open John Carlson for the first down. A gain of 11 to Seattle's backup tight end, the product out of Notre Dame. Seattle is a very thin all-time tight end group. Wilson under duress loses the football on the sack. Loss of 6, and they'll go no huddle here after John Randall, the Hall of Famer, got in there for his first sack of the game. 92 seconds left in the half. On 2nd and 16, Wilson guns it into double coverage. No chance. The pass is incomplete. Brian Blades was the intended target. The all-time Seahawks receiver room is, of course, led by the Hall of Famer Steve Largent. Then they have a lot of guys that are very good, not necessarily great, but certainly serviceable by all-time standards. Guys like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Darrell Jackson, Brian Blades, and the 2-time Pro Bowler Doug Baldwin should also see the field at some point in the second half when the reserves check in. Inside run on the 3rd and 16. Alexander is in the secondary, but does not have the first down. It's a gain of 13 to Alexander. who currently is not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He has a Hall of Fame caliber resume. We'll see if it's good enough to enter Canton at some point. Direct snap to Michael Dixon, one of the great all-time punters by punt average for a career. Drives this one into the end zone. That'll hurt his average a bit. Seattle sets up shop. Minnesota sets up shop at the 20. Vikings have all their timeouts, 1st and 10. At the 20 with 3 receivers. Tarkenton with a deep drop. Pressure's coming, so he'll run. Tarkenton has the first down, and Wagner's got him at the 32. That was some run from Tarkenton. Move those chains on the pickup of 12. 29 seconds left in the half. Tarkenton against a 4-man rush. Throws to Jordan on the sideline. He drags the feet. The officials come in to discuss it, and they say, yes, he's inbounds. A gain of 3 for the tight end. And Tarkenton looks very comfortable to begin this drive. Third play of this possession, it's 2nd and 7. Tarkenton against the 3-man rush. He goes deep to Carter to the 40. And he's taken down to the 34-yard line. Hall of Famer Chris Carter with the catch and the first down. This is some receiving core the Vikings have, and Carter nearly scored. Tarkenton rolls right, throws over the middle to Jefferson, who lost it. He took a big hit, and Robinson picks it up. Eugene Robinson dragged down to the 27-yard line. Justin Jefferson gets his bell rung and loses the football. With 11 seconds left in the half, Bobby Wagner crushes the receiver, and the Seahawks take over. 10-3 lead for Seattle. And with a few seconds left, they'll run the ball with Alexander, and makes a man miss. Foot race in the end zone. 40, 30, Alexander to the 20, and he's out of bounds inside of the 10. And that was good news for the Seahawks, out with a second left and the clock is stopped. That was some run from Alexander, and one they had to have. As now the Seahawks are into field goal range. They'll bring in Hauschka. Final play of the half. The kick is good. An exciting first half from Quest Field with our score 13-3. Here's a quick look at the halftime highlights as we get ready for what should be an exhilarating second half between the all-time Seahawks and the all-time Vikings. Seattle at the break, 13-3 over Minnesota. Celebrating, the all-time Seahawks will bring in their backups now, as will Minnesota, to begin the second half. Here is Longwell with the kickoff, and he belts this one away. End over end, this sails to Darrell Jackson at the 4-yard line, and he races to around the 27. The all-time Seahawks reserves are led by Matt Hasselbeck, the 3-time Pro Bowler out of Boston College, guided Seattle to its first Super Bowl in 2005. They won a couple of playoff games that year. As a franchise, they have 17 playoff wins. Hasselbeck right off of the helmet of John Carlson. That is incomplete. Seattle with the early lead, 13-3 on the all-time Vikings. This, of course, being the preseason, will give the backups an opportunity to earn roster spots in preparation for Game 1 of the regular season. Wide 2x2 for Seattle at the 27. It's 2nd and 10. Blitz is coming. Hasselbeck throws this one towards the sideline. Lockett was the target, but the pass falls incomplete. Well, that was a interesting decision, to say the least. And they had Justin Jefferson out there at cornerback. Some of the backups, you didn't know they'd go that deep into the depth chart with Jefferson out wide. 3rd down and 10. Hasselbeck with a deep drop. He's looking and dumped. Another sack for John Randall. the Hall of Famer out of Texas A&M at Kingsville, one of the greatest pass rushers in NFL history. It was a shame that he got hurt in one of the great teams in Minnesota history, the '98 season for them. Had Randall been healthy, very likely Minnesota gets it done over Atlanta in the NFC title game. Harvin is dumped by Kenny Easley, and with 7:11 left in the third, Minnesota will set up shop at its own 47-yard line. It's 1st and 10. Two receivers are in. Carter and Rashad are the new starters for Daunte Culpepper. Inside run to Dalvin Cook. He gains about 2 with Bryant on the stop. It's hard to believe just how good Daunte Culpepper was in his run in the 90s and early 2000s. The 3-time Pro Bowler out of UCF, one of the great quarterbacks in the history of that division, the NFC North. He was so good as a scrambler too, a big-bodied quarterback with a cannon for an arm. Inside handoff, and Cook gains a couple. Brandon Mebane makes the stop, and that brings up 3rd down and 5. Dalvin Cook, 4-time Pro Bowler out of Florida State. He did not finish his career the same way he did early in the 2020s with the Minnesota Vikings, but still a very versatile receiver, along with his efforts on the ground. Ahmad Rashad gains 9 on his first reception. A 1st down pickup to the 4-time Pro Bowler out of Oregon, Ahmad Rashad. He joins guys like Percy Harvin and also Anthony Carter as the starters at wide receiver here in the second half for Minnesota. Of course, we know just how dominant they are on the top end at wide out with Chris Carter, Randy Moss, and also Justin Jefferson. Cook gains 5 on a check down, wrapped up at the 34-yard line by Robinson. Early in the third quarter, all-time Vikings, all-time Seahawks, a chance to look at the greatest 53 players in these two franchises' histories. These are the backups in right now, but still an incredible opportunity for Culpepper and the Vikings here in the second half, down by 10. Culpepper stands in the pocket, guns it over the middle, and Richard Sherman's picked him off. Harvin was the intended receiver. Richard Sherman in with the backups, let alone the starters. No chance for the offense as Sherman picks him off. He was the DSFL 7 leader in interceptions. Seattle will take the field at its own 24-yard line after that interception. Marshawn Lynch is the new running back. He'll get the call and gains a couple. Cedric Griffin makes the stop, his second tackle, on a gain of 4. Marshawn Lynch, beast mode, the 4-time Pro Bowler out of California, began his career in Buffalo and then closes out his career with an incredible run. Seattle was they were either number 1 or number 2 in rushing offense. 4 straight years with Marshawn Lynch, and he runs to the 43-yard line. He comes right out of the gates with an outstanding start to this drive. 1st down, Seattle. Marshawn Lynch, you could just see the lack of enthusiasm for some of these defenders to try and stop the guy Marshawn Lynch that was so tough to bring down in the 2000s. And he'll line up as the deep back. They'll give it to him for the 3rd straight time. Allen with contact, but he's drilled at the 45-yard line. Chris Dolman converges for the Vikings. 3 straight runs, and Seattle's near midfield, already up 13-3. Vikings quarterbacks have thrown 2 interceptions today. Fran Tarkenton picked off by Bobby Wagner in the first quarter, and then Daunte Culpepper intercepted in the third quarter by Richard Sherman. That Legion of Boom has made a big statement in this one. Kurt Warner, also an unheralded runner. John Randall, in the midst of a great game, makes the stop. That brings up 3rd down and 4 after the short run from Kurt Warner. Before the K and Kurt Warner shined in St. Louis in the 90s and early 2000s. Kurt Warner with a C, a 3-time Pro Bowler out of Penn State, with his first carry of the game. He's the deep back on a 3rd down and 4. Metcalf is the motion man. Hasselbeck with a deep drop. is hit as he throws. Bailey dives on it. He got rid of the ball, but Randall was there for the sack. I mean, those are some video game numbers. 3rd sack of the game from John Randall. That brings up 4th down, and Michael Dixon is out, so Stephen Hauschka, their typical place kicker. Madden 12 technology. They have backup kickers and punters in the game in reverse order, and Harvin is spun down at the 23-yard line. 2 minutes left in the 3rd quarter with Seattle up 13-3. 3 receivers in at the 23, and they'll run it with Cook, who sweeps to his left, and Cook's got the 1st down on a gain of 15. 3rd carry of the game for Dalvin Cook. Chris Clemens on the stop. The reserves, Marshawn Lynch and Dalvin Cook, are running well in this preseason game today. It's 13-3 Seattle. Culpepper and the Vikings at their own 37-yard line as the sun is set on this critical preseason game. Cook taken down by Cortez Kennedy at the line of scrimmage. A gain of maybe a yard at the most for Cook as he goes up against a very good Seattle defense. Of course, they're more talented in the back line with Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, Marcus Trufant, Cam Chancellor in there as defensive backs. But even in their front 4, led by Cortez Kennedy, they are very good all time, are the Seahawks. Under a minute left in the 3rd with Seattle up by 10. Harvin out of the slot. Culpepper is back. Looks to his left. Hit as he throws. That pass is incomplete. Another great job up front from that Seattle defensive line. That brings up 3rd down and 9 yards to go. We check out the pressure on that play. Just no chance that time. 3rd down and 9. 3 receivers are in, joined by the electric Percy Harvin of the left slot. Culpepper out of the gun. With time, he stands in, guns it deep, and that is reeled in by Harvin on the sideline. The officials will talk about it, and they say yes, Harvin was inbounds. 2nd grab of the game for Percy, out to the 42-yard line. 1st and 10, Vikings down 10 late in the 3rd. I formation. They'll fake it to the perennial Pro Bowler Robert Smith. End zone shot, and Rashad's got it for a touchdown. Whoa, what a throw from Daunte Culpepper. Rashad's a bit shaken up, but Culpepper finds his man for the Viking touchdown. We check out that incredible play again. The coverage from Quandre Diggs, number 6. But an outstanding reception from Rashad. Extra point is good. Our score is 13-10 with 8 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. Ahmad Rashad's 2nd reception, good for the touchdown. So they'll bring out the kickoff team. This one driven deep from Chris Cluey. Darrell Jackson at the 5-yard line. And he is dumped by Adrian Peterson at the 23. Final play of the 3rd quarter. Marshawn Lynch lines up as the deep back on 1st and 10. They'll bring the blitz. Allen is in pursuit, and Lynch is taken down by Randall and Allen on the final play of the 3rd quarter. Seattle leads the all-time Vikings 13-10. And with that, we're back to begin the 4th quarter. Nick Rice on hand from beautiful Quest Field in Seattle. All-time Seahawks in front 13-10. Inside run to Lynch. And he is stacked up at the 23-yard line. Hall of Fame hopeful, that is. Certainly capable of doing that. Certainly known for the wrong way run. Jim Marshall with the tackle. Start of the 4th quarter with Seattle in front 13-10. Darrell Jackson and DK Metcalf are out wide for the Seahawks. On 3rd down and 10 yards left, they'll go run with Kurt Warner with a flag down to the area of holding.
Holding offense.
You saw it towards the top of your screen with Dwayne Brown of the hold.
The penalty is declined.
Hall of Fame tackle Walter Jones. and certainly an anchor of that incredible offensive line for the Seahawks. Hauschka drives this kick downfield, spirals to Harvin of the 40-yard line, and he's taken down to the 44. A good return for Harvin. Minnesota is a short field, having scored a touchdown with Culpepper's long ball to Ahmad Rashad on their last possession. First down to the 44-yard line. Culpepper with a deep drop this time, guns it. There's Harvin. First down to the 44-yard line, a gain of 12. Third grab of the game for Percy Harvin. Then it brings up a fresh set of downs at the 44-yard line. Well, Minnesota just couldn't put it together late in the 2000s with Percy and Brett Favre at quarterback that year. Favre is not a member of the all-time Vikings despite his outstanding run, guiding them to the NFC title game to lose to eventual Super Bowl champion New Orleans. 6-yard gain over the middle to Kyle Rudolph. Both of these teams have a relatively thin tight end room. Jimmy Graham, John Carlson, and Jeremy Stevens for Seattle. Steve Jordan, a pretty good starting tight end, 6-time Pro Bowler, joins Kyle Rudolph and Visanthe Shiancoe as tight ends for the Vikings. Culpepper is sacked again, and Chris Clemens has his first at the 43-yard line. Third down and 9 after the excellent rush from Clemens. He beat Matt Burke on the left side for the Seattle South. Third down and 9 yards to go after that quarterback sack from Chris Clemens. Daunte Culpepper, 3-time Pro Bowl quarterback out of Central Florida, UCF. From the 43, 4 receivers in for the Vikings. Seattle lines up in a nickel. They'll bring 4. Hit as he throws. Screen to Cook. He shakes a tackle. There's Dalvin Cook. He breaks another tackle and is taken down to the 22. He was dead to rights in the backfield, but Dalvin Cook explodes downfield. A gain of 21 on an outstanding catch and run for the perennial Pro Bowler Dalvin Cook. He was as much a great receiving back as he was a running back in the 2010s, that is, and he makes a big play. Certainly Daunte Culpepper versus Kirk Cousins, who's the second and third stringers respectively. Culpepper the number 2 with an outstanding throw to Cook. Robert Smith now, a flag down to the area of holding. Visanthe Shiancoe, the third string tight end, product out of Morgan State, the guilty party. 4:45 left in the ball game with the Vikings down 13-10. Culpepper and company at the Seattle 32. Crowd on its feet, and here comes the defense. Culpepper looks, hit as he throws into the end zone for Randy Moss. Touchdown. Both teams throwing haymakers here in the second half. We just saw the Ahmad Rashad touchdown, and then Randy Moss reels it in. His first catch of the game, beats easily for the score. That was some play to Randy Moss for the Minnesota touchdown. Randy Moss, with his excellent career, ranks 4th all-time in receiving. Chris Carter not far behind him at 13th. A 1-2-3 punch with Jefferson as well. The Vikings receiving core as good as anybody in NFL history. 17-13, Minnesota with the lead and 4:40s left to play. Jackson from the goal line races to his left. He gets a block, and Jackson's tripped up at the 31. A great return. Shiancoe makes the stop with 4:35 to play. 17-13 Minnesota. Stevens, the man in motion, with Lynch in the backfield. He'll get the call, and Lynch is pulled down for a loss. E.J. Henderson the Pro Bowl linebacker, with the tackle.
1 yard loss on the play.
And a terrific play from Henderson on the blitz that time. 2nd down and 11. About 4 minutes left to play with Seattle down by 4. Hasselbeck and the Seahawks haven't done much in the second half. The last big play really for them was that long run from Alexander. Hasselbeck's hit as he throws, and Jackson gains 7. So these backups have been shut out in the second half. Guys like Marshawn Lynch, Matt Hasselbeck, Darrell Jackson we see there finally makes a catch in this one. Darrell Jackson, the receiver out of Florida. 3rd down and 4 after his 7-yard gain to the 37-yard line. Metcalf now split out wide to the left. Hasselbeck is hit as he throws, completes to the backfield, and that was a disaster. Kurt Warner with the catch, but one of the Vikings is hurt, Jim Marshall, so he'll leave the game with 3:26 to go. Hauschka, another punt. Continuing what's been a rough second half for the Seahawks offense. Harvin decked by Steve Largent, who's one of the gunners. And with 3:20 to go, the Vikings take over, leading by 4. Dalvin Cook in there at running back on 1st and 10. Crowd on his feet. They'll go run. Dalvin Cook smoked at the 39-yard line. That's KJ Wright with the tackle. .255 left in the 4th quarter. 2nd down and 8 yards to go. Inside run to Dalvin Cook, and yet again, nowhere to go. There's Porter with the tackle, and that should send us to the 2-minute warning here. Indeed it will. 2 minutes left in the 4th quarter of this one. The Vikings are in position to punch this one away with a 1st down. They'll go run. Here's Cook, who gets a block, and Dalvin Cook has a 1st down to the 45. A 15-yard gain to Dalvin Cook. 1st and 10 at the 45. Inside run, Cook squirts through a hole and gains about 3. So they'll burn another timeout. Pete Carroll uses 2. 1 left. A 1st down for Minnesota would seal it. Jumbo package. Gut run to Cook. He breaks a tackle. And the final timeout will be used right here on a gain of about a yard. A 1st down would absolutely end it here. Here's the 4-time Pro Bowler Dalvin Cook, a workhorse on this drive. Yeri the tackle in motion. They'll run it off right tackle, and Cook had no chance. So the offense stalls at the 40 to cap off a terrific drive. It looks like they're going to go for it here on 4th and 5. This is a perplexing decision. They could pin the Seahawks deep. Instead, a 1st down would win the game, but they're a long way from that. They're going to use as much clock as they can. 2 timers are separated by 63 seconds. Harvin in motion. Snap to Culpepper on 4th down with a deep drop. Culpepper looks, shuffles right, fires downfield, and it's knocked away by Trufant. A 1st down wins the game. Instead, Seattle will take over at the 40 after a crushing end to that drive for Minnesota. Seattle's 60 yards away from the lead and most likely the win. Lynch releases. Hasselbeck throws. There is Lockett with the 1st down. He is a very capable quarterback in these sort of situations. A 1st down to the 47, and he'll clock the ball with 47 seconds to play. As he talks to Kevin Williams of the all-time Vikings defensive line. You see Alan Page, too. Such a formidable defense up front is Minnesota. 47 seconds left. Seattle down 4. Field goal does you no good. third play of this critical drive. Anything less than a touchdown and the game is over for the Seahawks. Hasselbeck fires downfield. Jackson makes the catch, breaks a tackle, and Jackson is gone. Touchdown, Seattle Seahawks. What a play from Darrell Jackson. Michael Dixon, the Pro Bowler out of Texas, for the extra point. Out of the hole from Dave Craig. The kick is good. Seattle 20, Minnesota 17, 38 seconds left. Here's a look at the touchdown to Darrell Jackson. What a play. What an incredible football game this is. 38 seconds left in the fourth quarter, 20-17. Carter from the goal line brings it out to the 10, and Carter is knocked down to the 22. Now with all of their timeouts, Minnesota, they certainly have enough time to enter field goal range, and Jackson scored so quickly that Minnesota certainly could do just that here to close regulation. Of course, a touchdown would win it. They're 78 yards away from the end zone. Culpepper begins with a pass. He's been great in the second half. Finds Harvin over the middle. A first down to the 39-yard line. Timeout, Minnesota. 3 receivers are in. Snap to Culpepper in a 4-man rush. He rolls right, fires downfield. There's Carter with the catch. And Anthony Carter, the 3-time Pro Bowler out of Michigan, gains 21 on the catch and run, and that also stops the clock. Daunte Culpepper already with a pair of touchdowns. An outstanding drive led by the quarterback again as he fits it into Carter on the sideline. This is some finish to what's been a great game, and if the preseason is this good, the regular season should be even better. First down to the 40. Culpepper looks, flips it to his left. Rudolph breaks a tackle at the 40. He's got a first down to the 28-yard line, make it the 27. A gain of 13. 14 seconds left. They'll run it inside with Cook. It looks like they're just setting up field goal positioning. This would be a 40-yard kick, and they call timeout with 5 seconds left in regulation. So here comes the field goal. Kluwe long enough, and the kick is good. A second left in regulation, and the all-time Vikings, their backups, shine here on the road with 17 points, and we are tied going into the inevitable overtime as Quandre Diggs has down the ball for a touchback. An exciting all-time matchup between the Vikings and the Seahawks. We are set for overtime. And here we go, overtime from Quest Field. Here is the kickoff. This one's end over end to Diggs in the end zone. Out to the 10, the 20, and Diggs is decked at the 22. So Seattle will begin overtime with the football. The backups are still in, so Hasselbeck, Lynch, and company take the field, and they'll go run to begin. Marshawn Lynch evades a tackle. With a spill to the 25-yard line, E.J. Henderson makes the stop. Marshawn Lynch, beast mode, played from 2011 to 2015 with the Seahawks and averaged 12 rushing touchdowns per season as a member of Seattle during that excellent run where he made the Pro Bowl 4 times, was named 2012 First Team All-Pro. That year averaged just under 100 yards per game, an incredible run for the Seahawks from 11 to 14. He releases right in a screen pass. He juggles but makes the catch. Bad decision, taken down for a loss of 9. And there's a look at Hasselbeck's numbers. 5 of 7 with 52 yards for the game for Marshawn Lynch. And his quarterback, Matt Hasselbeck, that is. After the 2014 season, Lynch started dealing with injuries. He only played 8 games over 2 years with the team, but by that point he already etched his spot as the number 2 runner all time in Seattle history. Hasselbeck is taken down for a Kevin Williams sack. We saw John Randall wreak havoc against the starters with 3 sacks for the game, and now Kevin Williams with his first defensive play here in overtime. And that was a disastrous sack too. Barring a disaster for Minnesota, the Vikings should have good field position for their upcoming drive. Stephen Hauschka into the game, their typical place kicker here for the punt as he stands deep in his own end zone. And he belts this one away, a spiraling punt downfield, reeled in by Harvin, who breaks a tackle, and Largent makes the stop at the 42. 6:10 left in overtime. And the Vikings will take the field at the Seattle 42. 3 receivers are in. Culpepper waits for the snap, and he's got it. Cook down by Clemens for a loss of maybe a yard. Nick Rice on hand, underway in overtime. This is the preseason, believe it or not even the regular season yet. All-time Vikings, all-time Seahawks. 2nd down and 10 yards to go at the 42-yard line. Seattle will line up with a nickel package defensively. Really, they only need 1 first down to enter field goal range. Culpepper out of the gun, flips it to his right, and Anthony Carter, another catch, spun down at the 37-yard line, his 3rd reception. 5.5 to play in overtime. Third down and 4 yards to go at the 37-yard line. 3 minutes into overtime from Quest Field. A first down will put him into field goal range. Off the Harvin motion, Culpepper looks, finds Harvin to his left, and he's taken down short of the marker. 13 of 16 with 208 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Daunte Culpepper, an outstanding game. But for the Vikings, his completion is short of the first down, and the offense leaves the field. They'll settle for a 51-yarder and make mind that this is the listed punter as of now. Rosters and sliders still yet to be ironed out. Chris Cluey out of UCLA. Cousins the hold. The kick is going to be short. No good. Tough break, and now the Seahawks will have good field position for their next drive after that one falls short from Cluey. First down at their own 41-yard line. Seahawks with 3 receivers. Hasselbeck waits for the snap, and he's got it. Lynch in the block. He flips it to his left. Carlson breaks a tackle. Has the first down to the 46. Second grab of the game, and it's a good one to Carlson. First down, Seattle. A fine catch from Carlson, the tight end out of Notre Dame, with the first down. With 4 minutes left in overtime. A wide 2x2 for the Seahawks right now at the 46, and they'll run the ball with Lynch inside. Williams makes the stop. 8 carries for 30 yards today. He's been a workhorse for these backups. Marshawn Lynch, the gain of 5. Outstanding job up front from that Seattle offensive line. 3.5 minutes left in overtime. It's 2nd down and 5 yards to go. Minnesota lines up in a 4-3 defense. They'll run the ball inside with Warner. Randall makes the stop. Kurt Warner, the 3rd-string tailback, with a first down, and that puts them just outside of field goal range right now. All they really need is about 1 first down, or even just a solid run, to put them in a much more comfortable field goal range here late in overtime. Seattle shows some hustle with 2:50 left in the overtime period. It's 1st and 10. Inside handoff, Kurt Warner motors to about the 30-yard line where Carl Eller makes his first tackle of the game. Here's a look at that run one more time. This should be the final play before the 2-minute warning. Minnesota lines up in a 4-3 package defensively. Here's Chris Warren, the 4th-string running back, 3-time Pro Bowler out of Ferrum. Eller makes the stop, and they are certainly inside of field goal range. Now they're going to lean on Michael Dixon, not on Stephen Hauschka, due to the backups here in the preseason. So with 2 minutes left in overtime, a 3rd down and 4 is coming up for the Seahawks. And this is a look at just how good and how entertaining it is bringing in these all-time great players, the best 53 for Seattle and the best 53 for Minnesota. 3rd down and 4. Kurt Warner in as running back. He'll get the call, makes a move, and motors to about the 22-yard line. 1st down. Seattle runs a no huddle here with under 2 left in OT. Hasselbeck's going to throw it against the blitz, and he's taken down for a sack. That was a perplexing play call. And they're now back on the outside of field goal range, really, considering they have a punter out there. So on 2nd and 19, Hasselbeck shoots it into the end zone, and that pass is incomplete. Intended for Darrell Jackson. All right, that was a very perplexing decision from the coaching staff to go for a deep pass on the outside of the red zone. 91 seconds left in overtime. A 3rd and 19 is coming up from the Minnesota 31-yard line. The Seahawks have brought in the I formation, and Kurt Warner gets the call, spins away to about the 25-yard line. We have an injury on the field, and that'll set up a field goal here with 1:25 left in overtime. The all-time Seahawks, a 1-time Super Bowl winner, 3 different trips to the Super Bowl. Vikings 0-time Pro Bowl or Super Bowls, but 4 trips to the big game. An outstanding, evenly matched football game here in the preseason. Dixon with a chip shot, 42 for the win, out of the hold of Craig. The kick is on the way, and it is good. Seattle led for most of the game. Culpepper with a brilliant second half through 2 touchdowns, over 200 yards. But it was Seattle, the all-time Seahawks, winners in overtime, 23-20. John Randall with 5 tackles and 3 sacks. I say Culpepper very much is good. Offensively, Sean Alexander for the Seahawks was huge. But check out Darrell Jackson, number 82. Wide receiver out of Florida with the big catch and run to give Seattle the late lead, 2017. Seattle wind up winning in overtime by a field goal. So Nick Rice here. I'm in the process of putting together the best 53 players of every team's franchise and then 7 additional guys that will compete in the preseason to try and grab some of the backup fringe spots for the all-time rosters franchise played on Madden NFL 12. That's coming up in just a matter of moments, so make sure to check us out on Charger Dude 95's YouTube page. The greatest players all put together, the greatest collection. What you saw today was not quite the finished roster and slider product, so don't evaluate this very closely. We're still putting together everything for the rosters. It's nearly 2,000 players when you include the preseason, so it takes a long time. But Charger 295's got you covered. The all-time greatest franchise season coming up in a matter of moments.